Hi guys, Matt from Haltech, and today on Haltech Heroes, we've ventured over to Oklahoma in the United States to talk to Dominator from Street Outlaws. So come on, let's go for a tour.
Gotta go through the garage to get to the shop.
I can see that, but before we go through the garage to get to the shop, what's going on here? This is it's a collector's item.
Yeah, so I have this problem. I buy and I don't sell.
Yeah, I know that one. I know that one.
I've sold 3, maybe 4 cars in my life, and I regret selling 2 of them with a extreme passion. But this right here actually is my high school car.
Nice.
I bought this.
The OG.
Yes, this is where it all started. As a matter of fact, some of us don't learn. So this thing is not painted.
Clearly. Yeah.
I mean, inside the trunk is painted.
Yeah,
it's being redone.
Sort of.
My wife and I may or may not have been racing in the street, and we ate 9 fence posts at 130 mile an hour. So we wiped out. I lost the entire front clip, the driver's side door, and the quarter panel. I crashed it in the 90s.
Should be done soon. Next Christmas.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, let's keep moving on. Let's see the shop.
It's actually jammed. Dash is painted, door jams, all the trim and everything's painted. Look, there's the inner fenders.
Oh yeah, see, it's nearly ready to go.
Yeah.
Yeah, turn the key.
9-passenger wagon.
Yeah, the hearse.
Everything works. Yeah, check this out. It's 100% all original.
Oh,
Oil
yeah.
bath breather. All I got to do is stick the battery back in it, and it fires up and runs. The only addition I've made is I took the single cylinder, brake cylinder, master cylinder off of it, and went to a dual. But I didn't modify the lines. The original line came down. There's a T that goes to that one, comes across the crossmember to a T that goes to this brake, and then the line goes back. I unplugged the back line from there. I put a plug in it, and I ran the extra line across and over to here, so I did not disturb the original brake line.
Just in case you ever want to go back to a single master cylinder on this beast.
Well, the thing is, it's all original, and now it's
patina.
It's not pristine, you know. But check this out.
That's a familiar old beast.
Turns out to be a 265 power pack head, legit original 4-barrel carburetor system. Now you can see the mice have been camping out.
Yeah.
But when I was changing the transmission mounts, this thing has a Positrack rear end in it as well.
Oh, she's set up.
So smell that varnished fuel smell. That's original aroma.
Oh yeah, that's the quality stuff.
Now, Street Outlaws was originated from them finding us. They found the Midwest Street Cars Forum. I met those guys, I don't know, that was 10 years ago, 12 years ago. I found Midwest Street Cars page shortly after it originated, and they had a cash days, and there was a top 10 list. And I told my buddy Scott, I said, we're gonna go to these cash days, and we're gonna take some money. There was a car show in Elk City, I believe, and they had street races there. They blocked off a road, so they talked them into letting them do the cash days there. So we're walking around this cash days looking at all these cars, and I realized these cars have a whole lot of cage and 2 and 3 nitrous kits and a big blower sticking out of one and a Pro Charger in another one. And these aren't my kind of street car. These are legit street race cars that they don't care if you can drive it 25 miles across town. It's a freaking street race car. I bought this coincidentally the week after that. I put an engine and transmission in it. I rent the track with Chief and Sean by sheer accident. They asked me what I was doing with the car, and I told them I built it to race in the street. And when I got home, I had a private message that said, if you see something else in this page, you've been invited to a different side of it. So it was an invite-only list page, and all of the underground legit illegal street racing was discussed in that section. The rest of the world couldn't see that part of it. We pull around behind this building at the meeting spot, and there's 15 cars on trailers, and there are 200, 300 people there. It was the craziest shit I had ever seen. And when I let go of the brake on the starting line, my car carried the front end for 100 feet. Murder Nova jerks my door open and starts beating on me and yelling at me, and front end was this high off the ground. I'm like, oh yeah, I know. I lost it. I mean, I'm punching the steering wheel and yelling and screaming, and I was hooked. From that point on, you couldn't get me out of that car in the street. Production wanted that type of a show, and they found the Cash Days videos on the internet. We are literally racing in a Cash Days in December. We are filming in the street in January.
So Joe, being a big TV star and all, I see you've got hundreds of minions running around working on engines and putting things together for you here.
Yeah, I do.
It's a big crew you have of you.
Me and me. So this is 2 years and 10 months with a total of 4 to 6 weeks off worth of Are You Kidding Me? My wife comes down and helps me clean the shop, and she helps me put the engines together and get them in the car.
So hang on, just let me get this straight. Your wife helps you put engines together, puts them in the car with you, helps you load up, and then, you got a good one.
I have the best wife in the world.
That's a winner.
Period.
Yeah.
Once we started filming, I had a 632 with 2 foggers and a single carburetor. The argument was the 632 needs a tunnel ram and 2 1050s, but I had a 1400 CFM Da Vinci carburetor, so it wasn't a punk. Haltech guys came in here. We took it to the dyno to get references. We put the car on the dyno. We got the best power we could out of the car. We bring the car to the shop. We put it right here in the middle of the shop floor. We jacked my car up and put it on jack stands, and the hood came off, the doors came open. There was guys underneath my car, there was guys inside the doors of my car, and they stripped that thing in a matter of a couple of hours. We put the fuel injection system on it, the tunnel ram, dual throttle bodies, went back to the same exact dyno, and we picked up 90 horsepower. You can individual cylinder timing, multiple kits. You can literally bank the first 3 kits. You can run up to 6 kits. So what was available was extreme. I mean, if you could honestly imagine doing it, you could make it happen. The throttle response was through the roof. I had to learn how to drive again.
Joe, you're missing an engine. What's the story?
We're good.
You're good?
We're all right, yeah.
Fred Flintstone style?
We're racing in 2 days. We've been working towards having 2 complete engines. We have literally raced 2 years and 10 months straight with a week off here and there for the holidays. I think we've had 10 weeks off in the last 2 years and 10 months.
Wow.
So the cars never have a downtime. I mean, literally what I really need to do is put this thing on 4 jacks, no hubs, no spindles, no rear end housing. I need to completely redo the car, and I can't.
No time.
No time. The goal is 2 complete engines where I can just ship one off. Yep. He can freshen it up. I've got 100 to 150 passes where I don't have to worry about that motor. He's not in a bind. One of the things that I've learned about this throughout this whole stretch is no custom one-off stuff.
Okay.
We are racing so much that if you don't have, I mean, if you had custom one-off stuff, you're going to have 3 or 4 engines. Because if you run into a bad batch of rods or a valve train issue or an oiling issue, then you're going to eat them all up before you get the first one fixed. Yep. To buy a used 765 was 35 grand. We converted my 632 to a twin turbo setup for about 10. I changed the camshaft. The intake manifold was all I changed on the engine. Compression stayed the same. I went to a single 4 style conventional intake manifold. We converted it and put fuel injection rails on it. And we put a pair of Turbonetics 88 millimeter turbos on it. We used Turbo Smarts, wastegates, and blow-off valves. And the sweetest part of all of it was when it came to the fuel injection side of it, it was a few keystrokes, and we changed from a nitrous setup to a turbo setup. Financial has always been my biggest issue. I do this because I love racing, and I love racing in the street, and now the filming and the show, I love every bit of it. So the financial side of it, to be number one and stay number one, is through the roof. If you can't get it through a parts catalog, shipped to you that day, next day air, then you don't need it in your engine.
So how do you build off the shelf here? Obviously, it's a Brodex block.
Yep.
What kind of bore, pistons, rods? What kind of off the shelf? What does that mean as far as parts catalog?
This is a 9.8 deck 540. This is a Brodex block. This is a cast hipped block. This is as close to billet as you're going to get without buying billet.
Yep.
So this is a Callie's crank, GRP rods, diamond pistons.
As far as pistons are concerned, they're an off-the-shelf piston.
Yes. So it kind of looks like it's a big dome, but this is straight up a 10-to-1. If you've got a 119 cc combustion chamber with a 50 cc head gasket, it's 10-to-1 compressed. These are an aluminum. Sorry, I got that a little tighter than I should have.
That's cool.
These are an aluminum GRP Pro Mod rod. They are not the cheapest on the market by any means. They are off the shelf. I can call them right now, and I can have these rods on my doorstep in 2 days. So cylinder heads are the same way. We went from, I scored a set of the last set of cylinder heads Brodex used when they were designing the SR20 head.
Okay.
So it had a 121 cc combustion chamber by the time they were done with it, but it was an SR20 intake. They had welded and raised the runners. They made a lot of power.
A lot of work.
The other downfall was it was custom valves. $1,000 for a set of intake valves, and then you wait on them for a month, you know. So these are 100% off the shelf Brodex 383 headhunter heads. Done. Usually what happens is it's a mandatory, it's going to have springs. I mean, 150 passes at 8,500 RPM, they're done.
Yeah. If they're all still together, they're done.
Yeah. To be brutally honest, I wouldn't be able to do any of what I'm doing now without having got together with Haltech in the beginning, because it was life-changing. I mean, honestly, we went from, well, I'm not going to tell you how fast the car is, but I will tell you that it's probably, it's almost a full second faster in the 8 than it was 12 years ago. So we're still progressing, still to this day. I am going to say the one thing that I have never broke is a Haltech ECU.
That's a good start.
Yeah.
We like that.
So if I could just get the rest of it,
well, let's just
to
hopefully we can get the ECU set up to
gold.
help prevent breaking other parts as well, because that's part of what we do. So
can you do valve stretch sensors or rod stretch sensors?
That would be nice.
I mean, a rod stretch sensor would be ideal, or a compression sensor to let you know, hey, if your compression's raising, your rod has stretched.
Yeah, yeah. If you get to that point, I think you're already in trouble.
Lowest of lows is really tough. I got 2 of them, not really just one. I finally got enough money put together after a couple of years that I built an entirely brand new short block for a turbo engine. The only thing that was used was the castings of the cylinder heads. Everything in the heads were new, the bottom end was new. I think I had 10 passes on that engine when a needle bearing, roller cam bearing came apart and destroyed the entire engine. We were at a legit cash days, non-filmed, and I got there early enough and was changing the oil and found a bunch of needle bearings stuck on the end of my magnet for my oil drain plug. That was an extreme low. A lot of people think that we're all just flooded with this production and TV money that it's not. Everything is always greener on the other side of the fence. Because I didn't have the money to buy what I needed for a transmission, I broke a lot of parts in the transmission. I broke a planetary set, then I broke another planetary set. I snapped an intermediate shaft on both ends. I stripped the splines out of the forward drum in the transmission twice. None of that had anything to do with PTC. They are gold. I've bought transmissions from them since the 90s, and I will continue to. I just couldn't afford what I needed, so I made do with what I had. And I think I went from number 4 on the list all the way to off of the list from breaking transmissions.
A lot of attention gets put into the engine, transmission, those sorts of things, but not a lot of people get to see inside the actual cockpit of this car. Now, first thing I noticed when I opened the door is it's all steel. There's still a lot of steel. Yeah, it's just no carbon fiber.
No, I don't own
fiberglass.
I actually don't own a single piece of carbon fiber anything. I do have a fiberglass hood. I've done things to this car in the last 2 years that I never thought I would do. I kept one small piece of the carpet back there just because.
Oh, yeah, just so someone says there's no good carpet in there.
So,
yeah, there is.
So a year ago, I had carpet and a floor mat, and my floor mat was actually sliding up underneath my brake pedal.
Yeah, that's bad.
Causing a problem.
Yes.
So I took the floor mat out, but it had a full inner tunnel. And I had carpeted the entire inside of the car, the dome light, the whole 9 yards. The only thing that this car does not have that it is going to get the next time I repaint it is I'm going to put wipers back on it.
Because for all the racing you do in the rain?
No, it's got everything to do with people claiming they're not street cars.
Of course. Street car does need wiping.
Now I've gone to a further extreme than I thought I would go with this car. We cut the steel floor out of it. This half, like I said earlier, this half is titanium. The firewall is titanium. That is not cheap, but
and that's really just for the weight.
For the weight,
and strength.
Solely for the weight.
Yeah.
You have to have a steel floor underneath you, and if you ever watch anyone crash, it's one of the things that I've done for a long time, even back when I was in the oil field stuff, was I did damage inspections on destructed situations. And if you ever get the chance to look at a car that has rolled at 180 miles an hour, this is why those people are still alive now. I wanted to be able to manipulate the weight, and scaling the car is a big thing. You've got a percentage. I'm not going to tell you what mine is, but like a radial car will run 53 to 56% of their weight is on the nose of the car.
Yep.
And not on the back.
Yep.
I positioned myself in the car with the scales. I had the car on the scales, and I started moving myself in the seat in the car to where being here by myself, I can move stuff around in the car and not be in the car. And it changes my side corners. It changes the 4-corner scaling when I'm not sitting in the car. But where I'm at in the car, it's actually, I lose 0.25% front to rear scale with me not sitting in the car.
Okay. So when you're in the car versus when you're out of the car, you are sitting roughly.
Yes, it's the same. So,
and that's important on it. People may not understand that, but where you position your weight in the vehicle over the front, the rear, the height, left, right, makes a big difference with drag racing for setting up the suspension.
Correct. You know, I've had multiple arguments with people that have fiberglass cars that want in the No Prep Kings, and they're pissed off because we're protecting ourselves or they should be allowed in, even though they don't put their shit in the street and they don't know prep at all, but yet they're chasing the money. I mean, you were racing for $40,000 a race.
Yeah, you can come out and win a couple of those a year. You're making a decent income,
Yeah,
right?
they go to big races and they race for $10,000, not 40.
Yeah.
So they want to bring their fiberglass cars out, you know. And I had an argument with one of them that I know he knew better, but he was on the internet. So when you read it on the internet, it's got to be true, right? True. There's no difference in a 2,900-pound fiberglass car and a 2,900-pound steel car. I'm like, well...
Except for how do you get 2,900 pounds worth of fiberglass car?
Yeah, I'm
you
like,
put weights around it where you like.
I'm like, how about you forgot center of gravity,
roll center,
roll center. You know, there's, I mean,
yeah.
You left a little bit of it out there,
You
bud.
did. There's a little bit more science, because if that were the case, why on earth would you want to have that fiberglass
what would be the
tube
point?
chassis car?
Absolutely.
Yeah, you can happily just go buy something off the lot, chuck some weight out of it, and send the horsepower down the track.
Yeah.
Sure, right?
Really and truly, the most satisfying for me is when we race out-of-towners. The one that sticks in my mind the most actually was not even when it was the turbo car. We were in California racing, and actually, let me take that back. I don't remember if we were racing California or if we were racing Las Vegas. But we were tied. And the whole entire, as a core, I was racing twice. And if I won, we won as a whole. If I lost, we lost as a whole. And I wish they hadn't cut it out, because there was a conversation between myself, Monza, and Chief about what I needed to do to the car. I knew what I needed to do for my first pass and the data that I get out of the fuel injection system. They were so nervous. I mean, that's a lot. We had not lost as a whole. As a core group, we don't lose. And it was all on me. And I was telling them what I wanted to do to the car to go faster. And Chief's eyes were really big, and he was really not digging it. He was like, leave it alone. Don't touch it. And I was trying to explain to him, listen, I can leave on the brake, because we were on an asphalt road, and after about 30, 40 feet, there was nothing, and it was sketchy. So I can leave on the brake, on the nitrous, and I can back off to less than 80% throttle position, and it's going to shut the nitrous stuff off. And all I've got to do is tip into the throttle if I need it. Long story short, I ended up winning that race. And yeah, that was extreme. When I came back from the other end of the road, and that entire group was standing there as a whole, yeah, that was a proud moment for me. I mean, we have sparked excitement in cars for people that weren't into cars. You can't go to a gas station without talking to people about their cars. And that's been my goal from day one. I want the 55 or the 65-year-old man that still got his high school car in the garage to push that thing outside, drain the fuel, change the brake fluid, get the car running, and take his grandkids to get ice cream. I want the grandkids to be so excited about cars that they start talking to their dad about, take me to see these people. And then the dad gets into cars because his grandpa had a car or his dad had a car. And I sent him a text message and said, listen, we're just right down the road. He brought his son over, and he climbed in my car and in Doc's car and drooled all over him. And turns out that young man, I was giving him a hard time about mowing lawns, you know, because I really push work ethics with the kids, and not in you got to go get a job, but you want a car like this, you got to work.
Sure.
You know?
Yeah.
So start off young now while you're not paying rent, baby shoes.
Before you got children.
Yeah. Unfortunately for some, alimony, you know?
Yeah, that's, yeah.
So
yeah.
Anyway, I was giving him a hard time. I said, do you mow lawns? No. He kind of looked at the floor. He was a little shy. And I said, you throw papers, like newspapers, you know, get out in the morning, 5:30 in the morning, bicycle? No. And his dad said, tell him what you do. And he just looked up at him kind of shy, and he goes, tell him what you do. He'll appreciate it. He looked up at me, and I'm not kidding you one bit. That kid looked up at me kind of shy, and he goes, I TIG weld headers. I'm like, yes,
Yeah, you do. Okay, that's a step up.
I'm telling you right now, I shook that kid's hand. I was like, listen, the next time I need a set of headers built, I'm calling. I mean,
That's not a bad. How old was he?
11 years old.
No.
And he's like, I TIG weld headers. And I'm
Yeah, I
like,
do.
we have a massive following in Australia. We have in Asia, all over the world, people literally fly here to watch us in the No Prep Kings. And I can't tell you that, I mean, that's speechless for me, to be honest. To have fans across the world that they watch you doing what you're doing and they know what's going on and they tell you about what's going on. And it's impressive. It's pretty awesome, really.
Joe, this has been an awesome tour, a good experience. We get to see a bit behind the scenes on how the car comes together and what it takes to keep up the busy schedule. So thank you for your time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Really appreciate it.
Absolutely.
And we'll see you on the big screen soon.
Yeah.
All right.
Soon.
Real soon.
Yeah.
Make your way to the top of the list.
Yeah, we're only going to be filming in 2 days. So if you'd kindly get the hell out of here, I've got plenty to do. Unless you want to change shirts and start wrenching.
Yeah, on that note, I'm Matt from Haltech, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks a lot.